The 1-hour film you're about to watch with me is a humble attempt to capture a small part of what I find so beautiful about the Filipino people. To Mom and Dad and Lolo and Lola, I hope that you enjoy this reminder of your homeland. Because I love the Filipino people, this is my gift to you. It was 1978 when I was last in the Philippines, and here I was again. Every year I had received invitations from the many friends I had made to visit them again. So much time had passed, and yet I couldn't forget the wonderful and warm times I had spent with them. But it had been difficult to find the time to return until this year, 1990. After 12 years, I would finally be back in the Philippines for Christmas. For us to visit the ruins of the Hyatt Terraces Hotel. The hotel had collapsed during the earthquake in August, just 4 months before my arrival. I was appalled to see the devastation, not just here, but in other parts of the city as well. Jeff had led a team of cadets from the Philippine Military Academy and local miners in the excavation work immediately after the quake, and he was quite the local folk hero.
It's really a big thing once people understand the effort being done just to just to save somebody. I mean, we take so many things for granted and everything's normal, but now a disaster like this, and then here we are trying to risk lives and everything to rescue somebody who we don't really care about in ordinary times, you know.
Right.
Like there was in this one instance where we rescued one guy. He was just an old drunk who was just, his work is just doing the balls in the pool table in one of these theaters, Aurora. That was his work. And just to rescue that guy, there was about 15 of us in a tunnel that collapsed after 15 minutes when we brought the guy out. I mean, here is a guy who's supposed to be a drunk and nobody cared for, and he's old, and that's what his work for the last 30 years, and you risk all of these lives, young people and everything for him. So people never really experience this aspect of what life really is all about till this thing happens.
He talked to us about the difficulties encountered during the actual rescue operations.
And if you open the radios, all of these, politicians are speaking one after another what they're doing and everything. And here we are, same guys looking at each other for the last 2 weeks, trying to still use a pick, trying to bore a hole and everything just to look for, just trying to go through these different slabs. As you notice, you cannot just go through those things, A lot of effort and a lot of, physical pain has to be done just to to go from one section to another. And there's no equipment that can as of now, that could do that work, except, you know, people.
By hand.
Yeah.
Where were the two survivors in the elevator? Were on this side?
And this
This
side,
side?
inside.
Yeah.
Oh,
Huh.
yeah. So in this kind of operations, we rely most on common sense and guts.
Another friend of mine, Nenny Saulo, had actually been inside the Hyatt Hotel when it collapsed. Where were you in the hotel?
Last July 16, I was inside the Manel store, and actually that time I was inventorying our stuff. And that 4:29 in the afternoon, I was napping on the seat, on the chair,
Is this in the bottom floor of the hotel?
on the first floor.
There's one structure there when you first drive in that's still there, still standing. Is that the structure you were in?
Right.
What was the first thing that made you realize there was something going on?
When I feel the building or the hotel is moving,
You were sleeping?
Yeah, I was napping that time. Then I thought I'm just dreaming. When I saw the glasses, the things are moving, the rocks, everything are moving.
So you were napping and you felt the earth moving and everything, I mean, everything moving and the windows moving, and
Yeah.
you got up, and what happened what did you do when you stood up?
When I stood up, I thought it's just a dream for me. When I saw everything really moving, I grabbed the hands of my company, Melsa, so I let her run also with me. So when we closed the door of Hyatt, because the tremble is not normal. First tremble or tremor is what you call this, horizontal, and the other tremor is vertical. So I feel I was inside the cylinder that it's shaking.
So you were still inside the building?
Yeah,
And
still
it was
inside.
both moving sideways and up and down?
Yeah, up and
Were you
down.
able to walk even? Were you able to
I
move?
cannot, because I feel I was dribbled, you know. So we started crawling because I heard a voice, you should crawl or you should make gapang like that. Then when we crawl, we saw the people, you know, up in the glass, up in the building. They start breaking the glass. The other are jumping, you know.
Were you out? Did you get out the building and you saw
Yeah,
this? You're outside,
yeah.
and you're
We're
looking out.
outside.
You're looking up at the building, and what was happening?
Yeah.
You could see people.
Really, people are really screaming, you know, jumping from third floor to the ground. And that girl in front of us was hit by the glass, you know, and it was full of blood. And when I saw her, I just crawled again and I shouted, "God, what's this?" And all the people are kneeling down, you know, and pray to God. And, you know, I realized I cannot cling to anybody. I cannot hold to anybody, even to myself. I just shouted God's name, you know, God help us, help us. And other people are kneeling down, trying to call God's name, trying to cling God, you know, because nobody can help us.
The next morning before leaving, we visited the famous Baguio market, and even there the signs of the earthquake were apparent. My first encounter with fresh pinipig, woven baskets and bags, flowers, fruits, vegetables, and rice. What a pleasant and intriguing collection of sights and sounds. Quite a contrast to the relatively sterile and monotonous American supermarket. Strawberries have become a major local crop in Baguio, with fresh fruit and jam in abundance. And as always, the happy faces. Everlasting. I was told all Filipinos immediately think of Baguio when they see these flowers. Walis tambo, the brooms made from grasses. rice, malagkit, red rice, and fragrant native varieties. Vegetable vendors, brass knickknacks, flowers, and hot chestnuts combined to make Baguio Market an unforgettable experience. Our last stop was a stall selling native hand-woven blankets. I was shown the different weaving styles and designs from different regions. I chose a simple Ilocano-style blanket to bring back to Hawaii as a souvenir. Little did I know that fate would very shortly take it from me. Less than an hour and a half later, on our trip to Vegan, we witnessed a tragic accident. An open Jeep used by a family on its way to the next town to spend the Christmas holidays overturned. A 4-year-old boy was pinned under the Jeep. We jumped out and rolled the Jeep over and bundled the child in my blanket to be rushed to the nearest hospital. Unfortunately, the little boy died. This tragic encounter reminded us of the fragile and fleeting nature of life in the material world. We tried hard to put the little boy and his grief-stricken family out of our minds, for we had to push on to reach Vegan before dark. San Fernando was a picturesque town, but with all the bustle of a provincial capital. In the province, the Jeeps seemed to be groaning under the loads they carried. As usual, the Pinoys make do with any situation, and getting home is more important than getting a seat. My tawa pa. This area is a major producer of clay pots and stoves. By mid-afternoon, we stopped to watch a farmer plowing. He was getting ready to plant and welcomed the interruption. He spoke about his life and his family with 2 kids in college, and then offered to teach me to plow. After a few tips and some words of encouragement, we were off. But somehow I sensed that the Carabao knew perfectly well that I didn't know what I was doing. On the next farm, they were threshing the rice just harvested. The owner was a retired school teacher who now worked the land with her husband to put their last daughter through medical school. Manong related how the whole threshing procedure went and talked about her life and how she and her husband managed things. It was a very humbling experience to meet and talk with these simple yet strong country people. Their warmth and humility and their almost casual acceptance of the trials of life made me feel honored to meet them. By late afternoon, we had reached Vegan and definitely needed a good night's rest. Early next morning, June's cousin Fred took us to see the famous clay jar makers of Vegan. We watched the making of a decorative jar, which began with the kneading of the clay and then throwing it on a large stone wheel. This was the first time I'd ever seen this remarkable method of driving a potter's wheel. Within minutes, an elegant pot had taken shape and the finishing touches were applied. If any of the kids go missing around here, you'll know where to find them. June's auntie jokingly said that we couldn't have lunch without helping around the house, so I tried my hand at pumping water for the laundry. As we were going to visit June's cousins that morning and attend a wedding, he jokingly advised us to leave before the traffic got bad. I thought he was serious, but all we saw was bullock carts and tricycles. I'd rather have this than the Honolulu freeway anytime. Barrio Kawayan was full of images of a gentler time. Talagang Ilocanas, looking from Bahay Kubos. The village barber. Manong taking care of her younger brother, and the boy shooting pool Pinoy style.
Marunong pala to. Magaling sa bulletin eh.
Wanna get some money?
You can just pull it. Nervous na.
Oh, now it gets hard. Kids tying bundles of red onions for market. We visited Nanang Matilda Tugati's place to see the native weaving looms in action. They were making placemats and napkins for sale at handicraft stores in Manila. Filipinos have a great love for children, and the barrio is full of the warm laughter of children playing and singing, and we are greeted from doorways with Naimbag na Pascua. Nanang Matilda had family on Maui, the Rene and Victoria Albino family, and she wanted to send a greeting and thanks for the card she had received from the Albinos.
Naawat mi dati Christmas card ng Tedmon. Merry Christmas. Ya Pascuahin mi ade.
June suggested it was time to get moving, and so we headed back to the church. The wedding party had already arrived, and the priest was hearing their confession. Marriage is a very serious commitment, and treated as such here, with all the pomp and ceremony to mark the occasion. We congratulated the couple and wished them well in their life ahead. Vigan was a most enchanting town. It was like being in a city during the Spanish era. The old buildings and horse-drawn carts were reminiscent of days gone by. We could imagine the beauty and grandeur of the place perhaps 200 years ago. Time had passed, and yet life had not changed that much. It was still very pleasant and laid back, without the stress and strain of most modern cities. Before leaving, we were to visit another barrio to see the local basket weavers. Planted fields and quiet barrio scenes greeted us everywhere. At Nanang Rosa's house, we were greeted and shown how the local folks supplement their income with basket weaving. After seeing the baby so peacefully sleeping, I asked if Nanong could make a duyan large enough for me. No way, Dao. Mang Felipe showed us their rice fields. The lifestyle of the Filipino farmer is a life of simple needs, free from the strain of city living and the burden of so many artificial needs bred by advertising and so-called modern living. It was time to return to Manila, and we left a little sad, hoping to be able to return someday. Who's that guy?